This is a big deal. This is a big financial decision. I love getting information out to people earlier so we can be proactive and do this all like very safely. How do you plan for something in 2 years without that information? Hey everyone, welcome back to Moving Sucks Podcast. I am solo this week, and if you want to see some of the banter, go follow us on social media, and you can see that Jen is not here, and she will be back next week. We had a couple scheduling conflicts with recording, so I said, well, you know what? I'll get on here and rap a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about along the lines of what Jen talks about, which is it's never too early. I just got off the call with a friend here in the greater Philadelphia area. They're not going to move for like 2 or 3 years. And I started off the call basically saying like, well, first of all, I want to congratulate you because there's this perception that consumers don't have to get really, really, really prepared for a real estate transaction. And I'm not exactly sure why, because it's usually for most people a large transaction. And people save for college, they save for finance, their finances, they plan, they do wealth planning, estate planning, all this stuff. But then when it comes to a real estate transaction, they're like, no, we don't want to bother the realtor or the lender. It's too early. We're not ready for them or whatever. But let me talk to you a little bit about how my conversation just went. And I think that it will shed some light on how to best approach this. So the clients that I just onboarded, they're probably not going to do anything for 2 to 3 years. They want to get, I believe, their second child into the school system, and they want to save a little bit more money for a down payment. Their neighbor is a friend of mine, and they were referred to me, and I was able to kind of express to them that like there is a lot of value in getting a baseline on where things stand, like a snapshot in time. And so there's two snapshots in time, like kind of two puzzles that we talk about, which is like the financial puzzle and then the logistical puzzle. Financial is like how much your house worth, how much of a down payment do you have saved, how much equity you have in the house, what you want your monthly payment to be, what's the price of the new house, that type of thing. That is all something that we can provide to clients in real time. A good realtor will have relationships with lenders who will get on well ahead of a transaction, because that's important. Because if somebody is trying to save money for a home purchase, but they have no idea how much they would make if they sold it at X dollars, they don't know what kind of monthly payment they would get if they were to take all this money and put it towards a new house. So if you establish a baseline, you are able to then make this informed decisions. So I told these people when I got off when I was on the call with them, I said, if we can establish like what you want if you establish a baseline, you are able to then make this informed decisions. So I told these people when I got off when I was on the call with them, I said, if we can establish like what you want your monthly payment to be, how much money you're going to need, blah, 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 like you might decide to go on an overnight trip up to the Poconos instead of a long trip to Disney. It will inform the financial decisions that you make. It'll inform how much you put towards retirement in the next 2 years, how much you put towards college, how much you end up saving. So it's a really important concept. And then we have like the logistical piece, which is the other side, which is where the real estate agent is really, really powerful in helping the consumer kind of establish a baseline. Where's the house going to be? When are we buying it? What does it look like? What's the pricing? What's the layout, style, whatever? Being able to get a snapshot in time, another snapshot in time, and a baseline on what the current market is. So you get a current price and what, like if you were to buy today, this is what the numbers would look like. And then you get a current look at what is out there, what is selling for what price. And we actually, even though we're 2 to 3 years out, these people were hopping on a lender call and we're going to go out in the market and just take a look. This is not, and this is the big thing not so great realtors can't overcome is that the consumer thinks that we are going to just try to sell you to buy a house ahead of time. And that is not the case, because it's super important to kind of almost reactivate the real estate part of the brain of the consumer, because these people hadn't bought a house in 8 years. They had questions about the commission lawsuit. They had questions about logistics, inspections, this, that, and the other. Getting all these things kind of going will help them, inform them for 2-3 years down the road. Now, my experience is that it won't be 2 years. My experience, it's usually less. But right now, that's where they're at, and so our job is to meet them where they're at. I am very big on education. As you know, if you're a listener of this podcast, you watch this YouTube channel, I love getting information out to people earlier so we can be proactive and do this all like very safely. And I was talking to another client. They're moving up from Raleigh to Philadelphia. And I was explaining to them how offers are placed and all that stuff. And I said, we are not going to do this recklessly. This is a big deal. This is a big financial decision, and it needs to be done in a way that is measured. There's sequencing. There's conversations to be had. There's also pauses to be had. There's times when, you go see a bunch of houses, and then we take a week break, and I was explaining to this couple today that, a lot of times it doesn't happen when you're out seeing houses, but I ask questions of people and I allow them to interact and ask and answer it in front of each other. And a lot of times they'll nod, but a lot of times the magic happens when they're in the car after the showing, or they're making dinner 3 nights later. And they're like, you know what? I was thinking about it, honey. And I know I said I wanted a garage, but if we don't get a garage, but we can live there, let's explore that. Even if you're a year away from buying a house, that's a really, really important deliberation to have had that will inform the decision and make this as efficient as possible. Because a lot of people don't have the time. And what realtors will do is they're just going to come out and they're going to say, let's just go out and see some stuff and explore. And I don't think that that's responsible. I think there's a lot of agents who don't get paid in the end because of that, because they're not brought into a process. And I'm able to kind of say, we're doing these two things. This is why these are the benefits. And almost everybody says yes, because it's presented in a way that's yeah, that makes total sense, because they trust me and they trust Jen. They're like, we don't have a sales bone in our body. Our job is to facilitate the sale of real estate. Our job is to get options for people, discuss pros and cons, and then the seller or the buyer, they make the final decision. So I just wanted to hop on here real quick and just talk about this a little bit, just the process. It's a short episode, but I feel very strongly the entire team here and really good agents all across the country do this. And we take just a much more consultative approach. But if you're out there and you're like, I might want to sell in 2-3 years, why wouldn't you want to know the value of your house and what loan products are out there and exactly what today's interest rate will mean for the payment? How do you plan for something in 2 years without that information? If you were to save for college, or you were to save for, something else, you would say, okay, I need to put a certain amount of money away. The same thing goes for real estate. You need to prepare for this financial, you need to prepare for this financial transaction. And the other thing is too, saving for something is a far cry from having to deal with staging your house, dealing with kids, finding a house, bidding wars, all that. There's so much that goes into it. And that's one of the reasons we call this moving sucks, is because it's not we make it fun, but it's kind of sucks. It's not great. It's not convenient. It can be expensive. Obviously you want to move and you want to get to somewhere new, and it's great. And I've never had anyone be like, oh, I made the biggest mistake in the world buying this house. Everyone's happy in the end. But the reason it sucks is because a lot of agents or a lot of people don't understand how to do this the right way, do it proactively, and surround yourself with people who will support. So having lenders who will get on calls with some lenders won't get on calls with people who aren't going to buy within the next 6 months to a year. A lot of them will just be like, well, wait, we'll just talk to them down the road. I don't know what they're thinking, but everybody that is in our orbit is ready to help educate and bring the consumer into the process as much as we can. So then when they are ready to buy, again, because a lot of times it's earlier than they think, they're not starting from scratch. They're not caught flat footed. They've already done all this work. And now it's just a matter of just updating the interest rate, updating the home value. We update their income if they got some raises, and then we just plug and play it. But again, their whole brain has been activated and knows this process. And that can make it a much more stable, steady transaction. So just wanted to get on here and talk about that. I made a decision this morning that I think I'm going to have my co-host come on here and do one for herself, whatever she'd like to talk about. And see if, as you know, if you watch this channel or you listen to this podcast, you know, our styles are totally different, which I think is a huge strength. But also, if you have any questions about if you have any questions about this process, if you have any questions about the real estate process at all, even if you're not in our market, I can connect you with people. And Jen and I, between the two of us, we have these massive networks of agents all over the country that we can put you in touch with that do this exactly the way we do it. So hope you find that helpful, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.